is a presentation of TFNN. The Power Trading Hour with your host, David White. Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, David White.
And welcome to another exciting edition of the Power Trading Hour with me, your humble, lovable, and squeezably soft host, as one more time we come to you at this time.
The following takes place between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m.
So what do we have going on today? Well, we've got to kind of go back in time. We're going to go back into the way back time, and that's to the outbreak of the SARS severe acute respiratory syndrome. It began in China, and it was really kind of gained steam on the 16th of November in 2002. The market starting to wake up to the fact that we could see a little bit of the same all over again. The market's first reaction is always to look to the past and see what happened then. Since we have basically the same kind of thing happening right now in China, kind of looking back into, what could be it. And in that time frame, of course, we just come off the .com blow up already. But transportation stocks, of course, already hit by 9/11 back in that day, didn't do well either. Saw a huge downside in travel, international travel anyway. And travel even in, the developed countries where people were starting to think that maybe we'd have it. There's already warning signs and doctors in the Toronto airport, which is kind of the hub for international travel up there. They have a lot more of a traveling, what would you say, Hong Kong, China, Taiwan basis, a lot of transplants. In fact, when I worked all the way through the 90s, I think half the people that we had up there had left Hong Kong thinking that they were going to get shafted by the Chinese. And of course, they all went back. It took them about 15 more years, but yeah, they got shafted by the Chinese in Hong Kong. But I remember, I'd probably been out of the business for a year totally. I was basically full-time trading and doing my daytime work at night back in those days. But I think I'd been gone since a little bit before 9/11. I think that's what it was. Anyway, you should, if you're not familiar with it or if you've forgotten about it, one of the things is you should look at what happened to the market during that time. And not so much as the market itself as just as the thoughts of it. But instantly, the weakest parts go to travel, vacations, cruise lines, all those kind of things that really have fired up in the last few days. Markets had been kind of soft even Thursday and Friday, even though the indexes went a little higher. There were a lot of blow-off tops. And as we look at today, I wouldn't be surprised to see weakness, as we talked about last week, continuing on through fund buying, which would be the last 30th, 31st of the month. And, we've had some big wins. Don't think that there's a lot politically that's going to change, but there's not going to be a lot more of that super high that we had with both the Chinese trade agreement and the Mexico-Canada-U.S. trade agreement that we got pushed through last week. So kind of there's a little bit of sell the news And then, of course, there's always the thing that you don't know. And it seems like whatever starts pullbacks comes out of left field, and certainly the same kind of secondary SARS outbreak in 2003 or 2002 couldn't be that different. Anyway, when I look at anything out here moving today, like Boeing, which was down a little bit, let's take a look at it real quick. You know, you're weak already. You got a few little problems out here. And, you know, I'll have to look up some other ones. Yeah, we're down to 306, 307 on it. It's not so much what's going on with Boeing, because they'll deliver those planes. It's what happens when you actually have a big problem. I didn't think that Boeing would get down to 300, but it looks like it's close enough that it'll probably make it there. I think it's still a fairly decent company. Support was fairly good for a while there, but this is exactly what happened back when the last SARS outbreak happened. And if I had a listing for and a tradable stock in Airbus, my guess is it would be doing the same thing. So anyway, let's go back to the broader markets and take a quick look. So we have everything here. So we've got the Dow off 180, Nasdaq's down 22, Russell's off 20. It's been weak all day. It's over 1% down. I talked a little bit about this last week too, and that had been it's been since October since we had a day that moved more than 1% up or down. I suspect, at least in the S&P cash, I suspect that is going to change fairly soon. We've just been a little bit too complacent in the market. What else do we have that we want to talk about? As I said, volume has been fairly good most of the day. In fact, I can't remember a day where we actually had 3 billion shares or over 3 billion shares at lunch, at noon. And we certainly had it today. That was telling us that we were starting to have volume come in. We're doing 4.7 billion shares right now. So we've got a little bit of that. Now, we've got some earnings after the bell. We'll talk about those stocks, what we'll be looking for in those stocks. But I mean, you got to keep a little bit of an eye out for what else is going on right now. The dollar index, basically, it's down 4 cents, but still in the 97s. Doesn't seem like much is really going to change in that anytime soon. Both the Treasury and the rest of the Fed, I think, has been working pretty hard at killing the volatility in the dollar, so things will be a little bit better. You know, we've got a few other things like oil, $58.48. Unnatural gas down 12 cents. So we'll be back in a minute. We'll do a little history. We'll go on and do a few charts, and we'll talk a little bit more about SARS and all those other businesses in travel.
If you're not currently using the TAS Profile Scanner when looking at setting up your trading opportunities, then your arsenal is short a mighty weapon. The TAS Profile Scanner is a standalone piece of software that instantly filters over 2,500 global financial markets such as stocks, ETFs, commodity futures, and Forex. Headed by Steve Dahl, TAS understands that in today's technological world, the use of top-flight software applications and technical analysis expertise is essential to successful trading in today's market. You also gain access to the webinar that Steve Dahl and Tom O'Brien just hosted, The Best Way to Use the TAS Profile Scanner to Profit. This webinar archive is available for all subscribers immediately upon signing up. All new subscriptions also come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. Start your subscription by visiting the front page of TFNN.com today, and you'll find the TAS Profile Scanner under the Services tab. Sign up today. Are you in the market for buying or selling real estate in the Bay Area, including the surrounding St. Petersburg, Tampa, and Clearwater markets? Tiger Real Estate LLC is a firm that has extensive experience in the Tampa Bay area. Whether you're looking to sell your current property for maximum value, or you're in the market for a second home or investment property, Tiger Realty has the experience across all areas of real estate in the Tampa Bay area to help buyers and sellers make the most informed decisions across all price levels. From the price you should be paying per square foot in certain up-and-coming areas to the type of cash flow investment properties are capable of creating, Tiger Real Estate can help you make the best decision when it comes to all areas of the market. Before you make one of the biggest decisions of your financial future, call Tiger Real Estate LLC today at 727-329-8322 or email us at tiger@tfnn.com. That's 727-329-8322. Call us today.
Many of our new listeners have heard about The Tiger's Den. The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of the TFNN shows, plus see all of the charts as they happen live and have access to archives of all of those charts. You can test drive The Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days and greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets and how to make your money work for you. Details on The Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com.
TFNN has launched our brand new website. You can still visit us at the same TFNN.com URL, but when you do, you'll see a new and improved homepage with a much simpler navigation, whether you're watching Tiger TV live in high definition or just accessing your newsletter subscriptions. We even have new pricing in 6 months and yearly options. Check out the new TFNN.com now and experience all the upgrades. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
And Boeing is halted. We'll talk about that when it reopens. But it sounds like somebody came out with a news article where it may be or may not be true. So we'll find out fairly quick. But they halted the stock. Probably, generally, you don't halt it because the news is true. So you may want to take a look at that when it starts trading again. Okay, what else do we have going on? Oh, we need a little bit of history, don't we?
And it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
On this day in 1981, the first production DeLorean DMC-12 was built. 9,000 DeLoreans were made before the financial issues got the company in 1983. A revival was attempted in announcements of an all-electric DeLorean with a prototype were built last year. But at this point, it's all been vaporware. Nobody's actually delivered one, but Texas Place has all the parts to actually make one, which would be kind of interesting. They sold for $25,000. Probably the most interesting part of this was the government's deep and abiding belief that they needed to frame John DeLorean for cocaine. He was busy getting his ducks in a row to continue production. The United States didn't want that at the time, 1981, because guess what? The plant was in Northern Ireland. Those folks were getting jobs and spending money to arm up. And the U.S. government didn't want that. The British didn't want that. And they got together and froze the accounts and then tried to lure Mr. DeLorean into a giant deal on cocaine. The jury took all of, 1 hour to throw out 17 counts against the gentleman. He got all his frozen property unfrozen. So he was still worth probably about $5-10 million. So he wasn't going to the poorhouse. But the British wandered on down, took all the molds for the metal, make sure that they were all cut up and dumped them at sea. I never really could understand why they did it, but I certainly, a few years later, really understood what was going on. And that was that a couple of big players on the board were more than willing to sacrifice John DeLorean to the greater good without putting their fingerprints on it. Of course, there was a lawsuit rumored, and then no one talked about it again. My guess is that DeLorean actually got a lot of cash from the U.S. government for malicious prosecution after a few things started popping up during the trial. A lot of those things developed out of it. He had a lot of properties, had some other money, some other places, but yeah, the first one made in 1976, the prototype. And of course, first delivered 1981, but kind of almost awe-inspiring. Is that even a word? Awe-inspiring was the lengths that they went to wipe this guy out. A little bit of help from General Motors, a little bit of help from the British government and from the U.S. government. So he probably ended up with a bunch of cash. We probably wouldn't have spent a lot more time, or a lot of people wouldn't have spent a lot more time, if it hadn't been for a movie in 1986, Back to the Future. Back to the Future was going to have Doc, the crazy Doc, actually have a refrigerator that would be able to go back in time and forward in time. But the lawyers got a hold of them and said that kids would be locking themselves in refrigerators and dying. They were told by the lawyers that they would have to have some other way of moving people around. And, well, a young Steven Spielberg had a DeLorean, thought it looked kind of cool, and decided to make the DeLorean the chief vehicle for that. Of course, directed by somebody else, but really the driving force to get it going and produce the movie was from Spielberg himself. But a lot of stuff all wrapped up in there, from the movie to trying to frame a gentleman and making sure he didn't have any cash, and then setting him up with a drug deal that he wasn't going out and looking for. It wasn't like he was going, hey, I'm going to save my company by selling a lot of cocaine. Kind of one of the real black stains on the FBI from the 80s, although there are others. But interesting nonetheless. A lot more to go in depth in that, but we'll move on. As we said at the top of this segment, we've got a little bit of action with Boeing being halted, so we'll see what happens. There was an article, unconfirmed, out about whether or not they would be able to get back into the air before midsummer. Since this wasn't actually made by Boeing itself and a single source story, the question is whether or not you could get into it. What you do like is that this 306 area is a big gap that goes back to, what is this? The 3rd of 2019. You've got one more, which is 287.55. I didn't think it would get back here, but you know what? If this story is phony, this is probably the buy. I liked the way it was going sideways. I just never got a signal that said anything else, like it's time to buy. I could see buying it on the sideways, not a bad risk reward trade, but at the same time, didn't see a signal in it. Okay, what else do we have out here that we want to look at? Just looking at some other stuff here. Okay. Oh, next thing I wanted to get into, of course, is earnings, which we start after the bell tonight. We've got Netflix, IBM, Ameritrade, and United Airlines. We'll probably get a better read on really what's happening with Boeing after that United Airlines call. They will tell us a little bit more. They don't have a lot of the planes. I think it's Southwest that has the bunch of them. But we'll find out about that. Anyway, first one tonight after the bell is NFLX. This came right back up to resistance. What you would like is probably not that good of a call, but a short squeeze. The problem with this stock, as far as going short, is I think this has been on the leader list of being short for a while in FLX. We'll talk about that when we return for yet another segment, award-winning segment, probably. Power Trading Hour.
If you're a trader in the market looking to find the path that leads to maximizing profits while decreasing risk, then now is a great time to try out Dave White's daily trading service, The Path of Least Resistance. Through the use of options and equity trades, Dave advises his subscribers on a daily basis of the current market conditions and what possible trade setups are on the horizon. The Path of Least Resistance is published every trading morning, often with updates intraday when initiating trades or closing out positions. Dave White has advised his clients of some outstanding winning options and equity trades in recent months, and now is a great time to try it out for yourself. New subscribers to the Path of Least Resistance receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the types of options and equity trades that are available by signing up for the Path of Least Resistance today by visiting the front page of TFNN.com and selecting the newsletter tab. Sign up today.
Hi folks, Tom O'Brien here. If you'd like to get my daily newsletter, Market Insights, then now is a great time to sign up for a 30-day free trial. Every morning by 9:30, I send out my morning letter to subscribers with market commentary on a variety of markets, currencies, and commodities to keep investors up to date on the day's trading action. Included in Market Insights are specific buy and sell recommendations for stocks, ETFs, and even options, with stops and price targets included for every trade in my newsletter. If you'd like to try my newsletter risk-free for 30 days, then head over to the front page of TFNN and you'll find Market Insights under Trading Newsletters. I use my years of trading experience to bisect and dissect the market every morning and give my subscribers the most important information they need to know for the day ahead. I even issue afternoon updates for my subscribers whenever warranted with important market action. I'm always scouring the market for the next great trading opportunity. Sign up for your 30-day free trial to my daily newsletter, Market Insights, today by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Wow! Go get them, folks.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABC's, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Anyway, we're going to talk about what's going on with Netflix. Not as many shorts as you might think. Let me turn that up a little bit. Not as many shorts as you might think, but had a couple of days last week where it was kind of heavily shorted. But ideally, you would like something about 355-ish on light volume to set up the short sale on this. I don't see a lot of reasons to pull the trigger right now. But yeah, you've got enough shorts in this. But I'd like a spike before you'd pull the trigger on that one. Other earnings after the bell is IBM. We really have to see how much that Red Hat is helping them out. There's not a lot to read in the charts other than you're back up to fairly strong resistance on this down day after earnings of the 17th of October. That came down on 15.8 million shares on that date. And of course, you're back up to it with about 5 million shares on Friday. You got about 3.5 million shares today. Really tough to see how, if there is any synergy between IBM and Red Hat that they bought last year. But it certainly looks fairly apparent in the last couple of months. IBM's real push is to go after Oracle and their business going forward. Probably not a bad deal. As we said last, we'll know here, I guess, in a minute on Boeing that is halted. But you saw the same kind of move. That's why I'm saying just travel, a little bit of SARS, got a lot of things going on in this. But it's down fairly sharply, too, from UAL. And, of course, going into earnings tonight, business has been good. I don't think it's really costing them anything for the aircraft. Could it be better? I think it could. But I don't know why they would sell off as much as they've done, other than maybe the SARS or people were playing this as some kind of pairs trade out here. Ameritrade, which who cares, and COF, which is Capital One, which is very close to its high. So we'll see if this 105.70, which is a couple bucks higher, that December 16th high, which hasn't been tested yet. Probably going to get tested after the bell tonight. And see. Okay, that's it for after the bell tonight. Tomorrow morning we've got J&J. Okay. It is just made some new highs, 150.17 today. Volume's kind of light. The question is whether or not it can hold up. And of course, it had its turn in the barrel, like Boeing and some of the other companies, about all the talcum powder. But story seemed a little bit overblown to me. But I don't believe the press much. Anyway, you're up, and you got a lot of volume. You got about 5 million shares today. Opening tomorrow will either be feast or famine on that one. That one looks a little iffy to me, but I don't have any I got to get this thing fixed here. A little iffy to me, but I don't see a lot in there. Abbott Labs. I don't really see. Kind of at the highs. Biotechs are probably the hardest to pull. Okay, don't see much in that. That's Wednesday morning. We go to after the bell tomorrow night. We've got a little bit in Texas Instruments. Not so much that I play the stock, but they make all the glue that makes all the other big chip companies fly. The stuff's been around for a long time, but they own all the logic. Everything is a Texas Instrument something from 1970. They make a lot of the glue that takes between different levels and basic discrete chips that you may need. They're all fairly cheap, though. They're $1, maybe 50 cents. Some of them as inexpensive as a nickel. So it's not one of these huge margin kind of things like Intel or AMD. You got a triple top out here. You got light volume so far. But this is going to tell us a great deal about what the SMHs are going to do going into the rest of the first quarter. Okay, so that's after the bell tomorrow night. Thursday, we get into Procter & Gamble in the morning. And again, all these stocks just sitting at highs, not a lot of volume, all going to be driven fairly hard by earnings, most likely. Also, that morning we look at JetBlue. It also had kind of turned down on the Boeing news. They do have a lot of 737s, so we'll see about that. Also, AAL. Okay. American Airlines. Again, all these things turned with Boeing, as far as I can tell. 26.68 is the last low. You're kind of around there for American Airlines. This one's kind of been selling off a little bit for a while. We also have Love on Thursday morning. All these charts kind of look about the same for today anyway, which with the Boeing news. So don't have much there. We're only 2 days away from earnings, so I don't know if there's going to be a lot on that. Also, Thursday morning, a lot of people's favorite stock is Freeport-McMoRan. This did have kind of a nice run off this October 9th low at $8.43. Kind of a pullback today, gap down, but just a couple of days before earnings. Let's see, so Thursday night after the bell, this is when we start getting some real movement. Intel at its highs. It's got a lot of problems as far as I can see from the outside of the company. They are being masked by a CEO that's a CFO, so he can make it look good for a few quarters. I don't see a lot pushing this forward other than that. You're up with about half the volume of the April 17th, 2019 high on Intel. A little bit higher or potentially back down to 53 bucks. I don't see a lot of upward size in that. Also going into SWKS, going into the phone business, we've got the Skyworks Solutions. This will be a proxy for what they say and what Apple's going to do going forward. Any little bit of a lower close in the next couple of days would give you a huge double repo pattern from Joe DiNapoli. That would tell you that this could come back all the way to 100 bucks. If they come out with something untoward. Give me a call, 877-927-6648. Email me at path@tfnn.com.
If you're in the CD market and looking for a secure investment, the Tiger First Mortgage Program may work for you. The security for these first mortgages are building lots in the tax opportunity zone in St. Petersburg, Florida. The Tax Act of 2018 set up tax-free zones across the country where you can build and hold for 10 years and pay no tax on the profits, which makes these lots valuable. The investment is anywhere from $30,000 to $75,000. The interest paid is 7% yearly, paid on a monthly basis. According to Bankrate.com, the best rate for a 4-year CD in the country as of February 20th is 3.1%. A $50,000 investment at a normal 4-year CD rate of 3.1% would give you income of $1,550 per year or $6,200 over the 4-year period. That same $50,000 investment in the Tiger First Mortgage Program would give you $3,500 per year or $14,000 over the 4 years. Which would you prefer, $6,200 or $14,000 of interest on your investment? If you would like more information about the Tiger First Mortgage Program, you can call me at 877-518-9190. That's 877-518-9190.
If you haven't checked out the newsletters page of TFNN.com, what are you waiting for? All of the TFNN newsletters are informative, up-to-date, affordable, and a must-have for every trader looking to gain a competitive informational edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets to offer you the very latest in market news. Plus, new subscribers get to test drive our newsletters risk-free for 30 days. From all aspects of the markets, including stocks, bonds, metals, commodities, and tech, there's a newsletter to fit your needs exclusively from TFNN. Stay informed each day you trade and get that competitive edge that will help you stay ahead of the game. Visit our newsletters page by going to TFNN.com and click the newsletters button near the top of the page. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Are China A shares hot or not? If you trade China A shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A Share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foresight Fund Services, LLC.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
Well, Boeing did come out with their news. I don't know exactly. They haven't come up with a date from what I can see. But we shall see how it all plays out. Gary from Ohio. How you doing today, Gary?
Not bad. And you, Dave?
Well, we're in the throes of global cooling down here. Maybe 50 tonight. So we're really looking at going out and buying a coat today. But been nice
it cools off up here. It cools off down there, and vice versa. Because it's been pretty warm up here, and I think pretty warm in Florida. Is that right for the winter?
Yeah. So I'm all about the temperature and the sun, but that's generally how I look at life. But
it's good.
You want to look at MX, huh? Magnachip Semiconductor.
I emailed you about this last week, and I know you had an abbreviated show, and I always listen to the replay, so I don't know if you addressed it or not. It's taken off again today, and you know a lot about this stuff, and I don't necessarily have a position in it or not necessarily looking to invest it, but I just curious if you knew anything about this company. It just seems to be taking off here again today.
Well, it certainly is on a breakout. I haven't looked at the news at it today. I'm not a huge fan generally of analog semiconductor stocks. They just never make it. It's generally feast or famine. The reason is that most of those chips can be made by other people or copied fairly cheaply. There's not a big moat around it. Generally, it's take the money fairly quickly. On a chart basis, you've got a breakout. But this is a company that makes mixed signal chips, and I think everybody now knows. I hope they all know the difference between analog and digital. But they make mixed chips for a variety of markets. My guess is that I didn't see anything during the break. My guess is they must have got a big contract from somebody. Yeah. Have you heard anything about it?
No, I haven't. I didn't do a lot of research on it either. I just saw it, and you know a lot about these kind of tech companies, and I just thought I'd just get your take on it. So, that's really what I was looking for.
Well, there's kind of like 3 tiers of companies. There's kind of like the Texas Instruments and that kind of stuff. They make a bunch of cheap chips that engineers in hardware generally call glue, right? It plugs one thing to the next. You kind of need to have it. It's well known. The stuff has been around for 20 or 30 years, maybe 50 years, and same of Texas Instruments. And the stuff is cheap, right? It comes in chips. You drop it on there. It's a nickel, a dime, a quarter, maybe 50 cents if it's a big expensive part. And that's kind of the Texas Instrument business. Then this is kind of like the second tier, which is they kind of make specialized stuff. It's not glue. It's not common. It's got a specific purpose. Sometimes whoever is there guesses right about what the product, what the market's going to need, or what other people are going to need. Sometimes the people that need it are talking to these kind of companies and going, hey, I really need this kind of thing, which is this. And of course, it's such a small company that you really don't see the insides of these. And they're kind of hard to forecast. It's not like Samsung. You can tell from a variety of people how many of the phones are selling, right? It's kind of tough to find out where these chips are used. Not a lot of people cover these things. So it's harder for me to judge other than just the chart.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got the big companies like AMD and Intel. These guys are making huge margins in comparison to companies like MX. MX probably making 30% margin on its chips. Texas Instruments probably making 10 or 15%, pretty low. This is kind of on the second rung of those. And the companies that make lots of money, like NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, those guys are making 50, 60. In the case of some of Intel's chips, 200-300% margin on their chips for the big guys in the data centers, the big servers. So you really kind of have to look at it. And the problem is that you really don't get a good sense of what the margin is unless you listen and really pay attention to the earnings calls. I don't know when the next one is on this one. I'll put it down on my calendar. Maybe they'll start talking about what kind of margins they're making. Maybe they're moving upscale. Maybe they're trying to move from a 2 to a 3, right? Which would be interesting. Some chip companies do. Generally, it's fairly rare, though, right? So you kind of have to know, what level that these chip companies are actually playing in, and if their chip is a commodity or not. Texas Instruments, commodities. This is kind of a mid-range chip. But remember, this isn't like Intel or AMD where people want to buy a computer and then they're going to buy one of the two. This is a kind of all or nothing business where they got designed into somebody else's product, and that company basically holds the reins to their future, right?
Yeah.
No matter what these guys do,
I'm just looking for some insight, and that's
whatever they do, it's not going to change the amount of units that they sell, and you're probably going to have a hard time finding out where their products go. So again, as far as knowing something inward about the company, on the chart business here, you probably can make a case that they recently have gotten a big contract with somebody, but those contracts come and go, and some of them never play out the way that they are. And I'm going to say that a lot of the companies on the low end, like Texas Instruments, kind of predictable. The ones on the big end, kind of predictable. The ones in the center, kind of like this, kind of trade more like biotechs, because there's a lot of people don't know a lot what's going on inside, and it makes it tough for them to do it. So I tend to look at companies like AMAT and Texas Instruments as what the general market's doing, and then the bigger companies, they're kind of predictable. These, you can make a lot of money on them if you know what's going on inside the company, but it takes a lot of work. It's just like a biotech. You got to find out everything about what that drug does, the competitors and everything else, to really have kind of an edge other than just straight reading of the chart.
Okay, I got it. Well, thank you for your information. I listen all the time, so keep it up.
Question in the den, is 5G a thing? And thanks for the call, Gary. Is 5G a thing? And the answer is it is. I think we talked about a little bit about this last week. The big problem has been that we had kind of a hiccup in the delivery of 5G with the China thing and the China tariffs. A lot of people wanted to buy the incredibly cheap stuff from the Chinese Army, the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, who actually owns some of the bigger tech companies and flood our markets with their products. And that kind of done it. Anyway, we'll talk more about this when we come back.
I'm certain you are or strive to be one of the best at everything you do in life. It's the most common trait that we tigers and tigresses share. If you're looking to become the best of the best when it comes to managing your money, let me teach you to do what most wealth managers tell you can't be done, which is how to time the markets. I'm Steve Rhodes, author of Mastering Probability, and for the last 12 months, Timer Digest has been tracking my newsletter signals, which have earned me the ranking as their #1 market timer in the nation for the S&P 500 for the last 12, 6, and 3 months. Timer Digest also ranks me as the #1 market timer for gold as well. The fact is, markets can be timed, and I'll teach you the exact set of tools that I use that has transformed me into one of the best at what I do. Sign up for Mastering Probability today by clicking on the newsletter tab on the homepage of TFNN.com and get immediate access to workshops where I take you step by step how to use an extraordinary set of tools as well as provide great market calls too. Sign up today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today. Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
Catch Tom O'Brien, professional trader and educator, founder of TFNN. Also, a special guest on CNBC. Tom will bisect and dissect the markets. The Tom O'Brien Show, next on TFNN.
And Boeing's trading at 310 right now. It may not be the summer, maybe the spring. Who knows? Yeah, you always wonder about those leaked things coming out of nowhere. Question was, is MX a 5G thing? Well, the press releases kind of have it in there, but it's really not. The money that I got to look during the break, the money that and the new chip that they have is they're selling to Samsung, and it just makes battery life longer. It's got 5G in there, but it's kind of like putting a sticker on it with 10% less calories or 5% less sugar. Maybe they put more sugar in it one day and then took it out and put the 5% sticker on it. Everybody's going to put 5G on everything, but it has nothing to do with the transmission of radio frequencies. So I'm going to say no, it doesn't have anything to do with 5G other than it's going into a phone with 5G, but it's supposed to give you a fairly decent or a longer battery life. It's just a more efficient voltage I wouldn't call it a voltage divider, but it's a MOSFET. It's a way of taking a voltage from one source and dropping it to a predefined voltage level somewhere else. And it's just more efficient, so the battery's going to last longer, but it has nothing really to do with 5G. But, of course, they sell it. Samsung put it in the cell phones. They make a lot of money just the same. So not really a 5G thing from what I read during the break. What else do we have out here? We got earnings out after the bell, as we talked about earlier in the day as we go to break. Boeing's got a little bit of a recovery. Now it's down $13, which is about 4%. We'll see. Well, maybe it makes it to 300. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I still look like it was doing fairly good. Anyway, we'll move on to some other stuff tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat time. So when you can, not when you have to.